So I know all of you guys probably heard of the most classic famous phrases in all time of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is, get your game on. Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and speed duelists, welcome back to another deck profile and in-depth building guide video. In case you guys didn't know, I hosted one of the greatest YUGITUBER King of Speed Duel tournament celebrating the release of the GX Duel Academy box. We got 8 legendary content creators within the Yu-Gi-Oh and TCG community space, participating and clashing against each other for the champion title. We also live streamed the event, and I guarantee you guys that this is something you do not want to miss out. So head on over there and watch that video as well, as links will be left on the top right iCard right here and in the description box down below. But that's not just all with the tournament, we actually even have 8 legendary deck profiles, and these 8 deck profiles are really great for all of you guys who are getting into Speed Duel for the very first time, because all the decks made here are utilized from the 3 copies of the Speed Duel GX Duel Academy box. The all-time fan favorite elemental hero archetype Arise with Jaden from the GX Duel Academy box. I mean, we all love heroes, right? So it definitely makes sense to make a video and deck profile for it as well. I'll go through all the in-depth building strategies and card choices with all of you. We also got gameplay videos after the deck profile to show you guys what this deck looks like and how amazingly it runs in action. So let's fire off with a quick introduction talking about elemental heroes. Now hold on, wait a second. It shouldn't be a surprise that all of you guys who are watching this video right now knows what heroes are all about, right? Right? I mean, seriously, it's heroes. Who doesn't know about heroes? Okay, fine. For some of you who never known and never seen it before, the elemental heroes were inspired from the good old superhero comics with their designs and inspiration. They're a group of monsters that actually look very similar to us as humans, which are basically superheroes who have various different powers based off their elements. The even cooler thing is that they combine and fuse with one another to become even stronger, which is why fusion summoning is a huge mechanic and a big thing for this deck. The cool thing is there's actually several different ways to build heroes, and we'll cover all those decks in future videos as well. So if you guys are just as excited to see that, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell as well to stay tuned. And like as always, give this video a like because it just really helps. So with that quickly out of the way, let's go right into the deck profile. Alright guys, let's start with the skills as usual. Before I review to you guys exactly which skill we want to play, I want to talk about the skills that Jaden has that came from the Speed Duel GX Duel Academy box. The first one we have right here is Here Goes Something. This is the main one, and this is supposed to be the really powerful one where it boosts your monster that is elemental hero by 800 attack, and it needs to be the only one present on the board, and you use this at the start of the battle phase, and it can also attack all your opponent's monsters once, and you can only use this once per duel. Seems pretty nutty, seems pretty cool, but I do feel that this is a little bit lackluster because of its 800. I think it'll be much more better if it provides 1000 attack, and that'll be a much better choice. And then the other one we have is the right hero for the job. Once per duel during the main phase, you can shuffle one elemental hero monster you control back into your main deck and then special summon another one that is level 4 or lower from your main deck with a different name. And once again, you can only use this once per duel. Honestly, I want to be real with you guys, these 2 skills are really lackluster, and I think Konami could have done a better job in making heroes a bit more better with these 2 skills, because there's so much more potential, but I feel like they're just trying to be very careful and very cautious. So unfortunately, Jaden, both these skills are not going to be good for this deck, because we have the best character. Actually, we have Christine right here, and what she actually basically does is Fusion Party, where she is basically a polymerization in a skill form, but you can only use it once per duel. Now, this one's just really more consistent, it's just way faster, it requires less cards, less requirements, and you can get into your combos way much more quicker. And yeah, so for you guys who don't know, Christine is not included in the Speed Duel GX box, but for those who actually did buy the Battle City box, I remember she is included in there as well. She's getting a little bit difficult to find, but if you guys can find her, she's actually very affordable as well. So let's go and begin with our monsters right here. First off, for our Elemental Hero monsters, we got the 3 copies of Sparkman, simply because he is the strongest one with 1600 attack and 1400 defense. The fusion materials that we get into, or the fusion monsters that we get into with this guy, are much more better in general. That's the one that we want to go to in most of our plays anyways. So 3 Sparkman. Next we have 1 Clayman. I personally want to play Clayman because it has pretty decent defense. 2000 is great, but also he can also help you get into some decent fusion monsters within the Elemental Heroes generally. And yeah, that's really it. One of is a good one. Next we have 1 Burstinatrix, and once again she gives you access to cards like Flame Wingman and Rampart Blaster very easily. She is rather weaker with the 1200 attack and 800 defense only. However, she is necessary to get into your little bit of a wider range of your fusion monsters. That's basically it for all of our Elemental Heroes. Next up, we got 3 copies of the Goddess with the Third Eye. This one is just basically extremely crucial, extremely good in this deck because it can substitute for any fusion material, making it very good for the Elemental Hero deck in general. You can basically combo this card with any of the other Elemental Heroes and basically make their fusion parts, which is really nice. So 3 of is 100% must have, and don't play less. Then lastly, to round up for the monsters, we got 2 DD Warrior Ladies. This card is one of the strongest, basically staple warrior in the whole entire set in this current format. I really want to play 3, but space is really tight. So if you guys have any suggestions on what to remove or what to take out to play 3 DD Warrior Ladies, let me know in the comments down below. But for now, 2 works out quite nicely overall. So that's it for the monsters. Let's move on to the spells right now. So first off, we have 3 copies of the reinforcement of the army right here. You need to search for your heroes. You need to search for your warriors. You can even grab DD Warrior Lady, which is really good, which is why you need to play 3 of, because this helps you once again get into your fusion materials as soon as possible, and then you can start doing your fusion summonings. Next up, we have 1 Polymerization. Now, we do have Fusion Party, which is a polymerization as a skill, but we do want to fusion summon more often enough every now and then, a second time during the game, which can be really helpful. So playing 1 polymerization is good enough. Now, once again, I want to highlight why this skill is so good, because it doesn't require you to play more polymerizations. If you end up playing more polymerizations in the deck generally, it becomes harder to get your combo pieces, it becomes a little bit more bricky, and it's going to be not as fun when you get into those situations. So 1 is also really nice. Next up, we have one of the best staple spells in the whole game. We have 2 Book of Moons right here, very versatile once again. Flip opponent's monsters face down, flip some of yours face down if needed. You know, just really good for different situations, and generally just a really good staple. Next up, then we need back row removal. We play 2 Cosmic Cyclones right here. Cosmic Cyclone, I'm willing to pay the 1000 life points for the versatility compared to Night Beam, surprisingly, for this particular deck. However, I've been experimenting and been theorizing between, I think Night Beam is still pretty decent as well. If you guys want to go for Night Beam, definitely go for that. But for now, Cosmic Cyclone is great. That'll be all over the spells, so let's finish up with the traps right here. We got 2 Wall of These. I think Wall of D is just generally so much better because a lot of your hero monsters do lack a little bit in terms of attack, and Wall of D really helps facilitate a stronger counter attack compared to Floodgate Trap Holes and other trap options in general. And Wall of D is just actually really busted generally, and it really punishes your opponent really hard when they overextend. So that's basically it for the traps and for the entire 20 card main deck. Now let's move on to the fun part, where we get to show you guys the extra deck, which is basically all fusion monsters. We first off have the 2 copies of Elemental Hero Plasma Vice right here. This is basically the strongest hero you always want to get into. It requires Sparkman and Blade Edge. However, you guys know that we actually don't play Blade Edge in this deck at all, because we want to utilize this Sparkman with the Goddess of Third Eye to easily bring out this card right here. Basically, must be fusion summon. If this card attacks the defense, it inflicts piercing. Also, you can discard 1 card and then target 1 attack position monster your opponent controls and destroy that target. Literally the best one. 2600 beater, you know, it's just that good. Next, as sort of like the substitute, or sort of the second one that you want to go to, is Elemental Hero Thunder Giant. This one helps you, basically requires Sparkman and Clayman to fuse together. At some situations, you may not see your Sparkman with Goddess with the Third Eye, and you have no other choice, and then you have a Sparkman or a Clayman then you can quickly get into this guy, and it basically does very similar but like a weaker version, where once per turn you can discard one card from your hand and then target one monster in the field with original attack less than the attack of this card and then destroy that target. 2400 is not too bad either. Next up, we then have one elemental hero, Rampart Blaster. This is just really good. This is the reason why we do play the Clayman and the Bristinatrix. Once again, comboing very nicely with the Goddess of the Third Eye, so we can get into some versatility options when it comes to this. Rampart Blaster has 2500 defense, and that's pretty good and that's pretty decent, and not all monsters can easily run over it. This card is very interesting because it can actually attack directly while in defense position. However, if it does, any of the attack damage of calculation of this attack is halved during damage calculation, meaning that it has 2000 attack, and when it attacks into your opponent only takes 1000, but that's still really good and pretty decent overall. And then next up, we of course must have the elemental hero Flame Wingman right here. It wouldn't be an elemental hero deck without him. This is Jaden's favorite hero monster, most important in the deck overall. Actually, I wouldn't say it's the most important. It is a little bit lackluster generally, but it has 2100 attack. In some situations, you may want to get into him and it can deal damage into your opponent, which can be pretty decent. It can win games every now and then in some clutch situations. However, I want to be honest, I haven't used him all that much generally, but you know, nice to have. So basically, when it does destroy an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the destroyed monster in the graveyard. 2100 attack is still a little bit just lackluster. It can run over most level 4s, and that's about it. Last but not least, we have one more. We have Elemental Hero Dark Bright right here. Pretty neat in some clutch situations as well, depending on the plays, but again, must be fusion summoned, and if this one requires Sparkman and Necroshade, but we don't play Necroshade, so Sparkman plus Goddess with the Third Eye is basically the way to go. And basically, if this it has piercing, but 2000 attack is just kind of okay. That's really about it. And then the other effect is that once after it attacks, you have to change it to defense position, which is kind of bad sometimes, honestly. But if this card is destroyed in any way, whether by battle or by card effect, you get to target one opponent's monster and destroy that target, which is actually pretty decent and applying some pressure and making it a little bit annoying for your opponent to play against around sometimes. So that's basically it for the fusion deck. That's 6 cards right here, and let's move on to the side deck. So talking about side deck right here, we have 2 copies of Lost Wind. Elemental heroes are once again generally very weak in terms of attack power, so when your opponent brings out like big boss monsters on their side that has way more attack, Lost Wind just comes in real handy in sort of like negating its effects and also halving its attack, which is pretty nice, and that's why I think a 2-of is great. Next up, we have one Straight Flush. It's just good against any decks that play a lot of back row cards, and once again, Elemental Hero's weaknesses are lots of back row, and it makes it very difficult because they don't have built-in back row removal at the current moment in this deck and in this build. So Straight Flush actually really helps in punishing the trap heavy decks, especially when your opponent has a full set zones of spell and trap zones where they're all occupied. Next up, I have one DD Crow right here. Pretty decent every now and then when it combats again any decks that utilize graveyards. That's really all he does. Basically a hand trap with a quick effect, banishing a card in your opponent's graveyard. And then another one which I'm sort of experimenting, which I quite like in the side deck, maybe even sometimes I like it in the main deck, where we right here have Exiled Force. It's very simple. You contribute this card and target one monster in the field and destroy that target. Instant removal in certain situations, even better than DD Warrior Lady, because that you don't have to attack and you can just basically tribute this guy and get rid of any annoying problematic monster your opponent has. And it combos very nicely in this deck generally because you play so many Reinforcement of the Armies, and all you need is one copy of Reinforcement of the Army or have access to one Reinforcement of the Army. You immediately have access to Exiled Force. Lastly, not to round up, now we have one D-Fusion, just to combat against any fusion-based decks that our opponent has, and it's just really neat when we can sort of like stop them from their fusion tracks. And you know, really good against XYZ, pretty decent against Destiny Hero and Dragoon as well in general. So D-Fusion is basically it. So that basically rounds up for the 6 cards in the side deck. Now that we got the deck profile completed, let's head on there for our feature match of the day. Alright guys, welcome to the very first match of our Elemental Hero deck, and today we're for our very first Speed Duel match on the channel. We'll actually be playing against a Cyber Dragon deck. Now, since it's a Cyber Dragon, it's very likely that they're playing the Forbidden Cyber style technique, And right here, right off the bat, we basically decide to go with defensive. We're going to set our DD Warrior Lady and pass it to them and sort of see and take it slow and see what they have to answer back for us. Keeping our resources in our hand is really crucial. Now, our opponent basically played Cyber Dragon and Cyber Valley and came up with an Iron Draw combo, drawing them 2 cards to their hand. Not only that, they activate Cyber Valley, and then Cyber Valley basically banishes both Cyber Valley and Cyber Dragon, and they draw another extra 2 cards, getting a lot of resources in their hand right off the bat, which is really, really good. Special summoning the Cyber Dragon and setting 2 back row, swinging into our DD Warrior Lady. Of course, we definitely use DD Warrior Lady's effect to banish both Cyber Dragon and herself so that we can keep our opponent's resources in check. By banishing the Cyber Dragons, they have lesser resources that they can work with their machines, which is our intention of the play right here. Now, passing back to us, we drew into a Sparkman, and we decided to basically just to summon the Sparkman, and that's it. And we actually have potential for like full combo for lethal right here. But remember, our opponent has 2 back row cards that we have to be very, very careful of, and we have no idea what they have at the back right there. For all we know, it could be Zomas, I don't know, Floodgates or Nightmare Wheels, whatever it could be. We just want to be respectful. So we put the Sparkman out and basically just want to do some poke damage, which is the play where we want to sort of decrease their life points and poke them a little bit, but don't give them enough life points to fulfill the conditions for the Forbidden Cyber Style technique, because with that, all they need is 1500 or less life points, and then they can basically bring out their 3 Cyber Dragons and go into their full combo play. So we want to keep it in check, poke them slowly down, and then go for the big play later on, and be very, very patient right here. So we're waiting, and we're just seeing what they do, and they surprise us with this really cool play right here. They basically had 2 Cosmic Cyclones, and they activated it back to back, decreasing their own life points by 2000, so they fulfill the requirements to activate their skill, which is Forbidden Cyber Style technique right here, because they're going to go down to 50 anyways after using the skill. And what the skill does, it basically lets them play 3 of their machine monsters, and they all become Cyber Dragon right here. So even with the Cyber Valleys, you can see they all become 2100 with the Cyber Dragons essentially, and then they can pull off their full combo by playing the Polymerization to follow up and turn it into a Cyber End Dragon, swinging right into us and dealing massive damage. So right here, we're taking a lot of damage in one blow. He's got the boss monster out there, and our opponent is looking like they basically scored this game right here. But this is the really good reason why we're keeping our resources in our hand earlier in the play, because right here, right now, we can basically go into our Fusion Party skill to basically allow us to fusion summon our Plasma Vice right here, using Plasma Vice's effect to pop their Cyber End Dragon, and then swinging for game for clear, taking down their life points and scoring our game 1 just like that. Now moving into game 2, our opponents definitely want us to go start off first. So once again, you know, with our hand, we wanted to sort of play a little bit defensively and go a little bit slow to see what our opponents had to respond. So we set the Sparkman and basically passed our turn. Now, passing back to our opponents and seeing what they do, they definitely special summon the Cyber Dragon, set a face down monster, and set 2 back row cards, which are basically they're getting ready to set up essentially right here. And it's just swing right into our Sparkman, taking it out with no pressure for them on their end at all. Now passing back to us right here, we once again have a few options. We can probably search for a another warrior or another elemental hero to grab ourselves something so we can fusion summon. But first off, most importantly, we want to play the back row removal card to remove their back row, just in case if there's any threats such as like Floodgate Trap Holes or anything, Book of Moons, stuff like that, to get rid of it. And it turns out to be another Cosmic Cyclone, so we indeed search out to grab our Clayman and proceed to use our Fusion Party to bring out our elemental hero Thunder Giant right here. 2400 attack, so then we can swing over the Cyber Dragon, setting our Wall of Disruption as well, and then we take out that Cyber Dragon and deal a little bit of small damage back to our opponent. Now our opponent responded once again with another Cosmic Cyclone, banishing our Wall of Disruption, which is going to be really, really good for them, and it's really crucial for us because that's our sort of only one of counterplays against their high attacking power monsters. So passing now to them, they flip up a Dekoichi, which draws them a card, which is really, really good. But not only that, they follow up with a Cyber Valley right here, So then they can use Cyber Valley's effect, banishing both Cyber Valley and Decoy so they draw 2 more cards right here, and they have 4 cards to work with. Special summoning Cyber Dragon in defense mode right here, and setting 1 card face down at the back. So now right here at this moment, I'm a little bit curious. I'm not too sure what they're trying to do. Are they trying to bait us to do something? So I decided to go a little bit slow. I just decided to pass my turn and see and go back to them and see what they can do. And also hopefully we can gather a little bit more resources so that we can potentially one-shot them later on instead. Now again, they're playing defenses as well and setting a monster, just waiting for us to do something back as well. So we're just both playing a little back and forth, building a little bit patience. And this is when I just decide to swing in the Cyber Dragon first and swing it in, and then so then we can, you know, potentially once again set up for like a big turn play to pop their monsters and basically swing in all for game. Once again, Cyber Valley is brought out, which is a really good card because it can help you help the opponent stall a little bit longer, draw even more cards, and also like it's a really good defensive monster in general to be put up. So right here we have reinforcement of the army, grabbing DD Warrior Lady so that we can always like banish something if we need, which is really great. So this is when we decide to go all aggressive, and let's just take out their monsters right here. So swing into Decoy, destroying it, but they do get to draw a card, and then we'll pass their turn. Once again, looking into sort of like a lethal range. And this is surprising because right here they basically summon out their Gyroid, which seems to be a really interesting tech card, and they play Overload Fusion at this point, banishing everything they have, and they got a lot of resources to work with right here, summoning their Chimera Tech Over Dragon with 4,000 attack, and right here they basically swing right into us, into our Thunder Giant and both our DD Warrior Lady, just wiping our life points clean right here, and they score game 2 just like that. So moving into game 3, which is always really exciting because we want to see who's going to win this match in the end. So we definitely opt in to go second. We definitely want to go second most of the time so we get more resources and we can work something out. And they basically set and pass. Very similar to strategies to what we did for the last 2 games as well. So we just decided to go with DD Warrior Lady and start swinging in. Turns out to be a Sphere Karibo, which is definitely really interesting. So that must mean they have very little resources to work with, and they're pretty desperate if they're setting Sphere Karibo just like that, or it could be a simple misplay of thought process. So they activate their Cosmic Cyclone, once again taking out our Wall of Disruption, which is kind of unfortunate because this card is really crucial. But now I notice they run a lot of backward removal, and now they bring out their Cyber Dragon and they just swing in relentlessly against us. They don't even care. They just want to deal the 600 damage to us, and we still banish their Cyber Dragon because once again it depletes the resources a little bit. Right here we got full lethal combo at this point. You know, I made the estimation that, you know, they maybe don't have another Sphere Karibo, but they might have. But this is a really good opportunity for us to go for the one-shot kill, one-shot tempo right here. So once again, we basically searched up for a Sparkman or Clayman. I didn't really catch that right there, but we are able to use our Fusion Party once again to basically bring out our ace boss monster right here, Elemental Hero, Plasma Vice, 2,600 attack, along with Goddess with the third eye right here, to be very careful. Now right here what I'm thinking is they may have another Sphere Karibo, so we gotta be very careful. So I'm just gonna do some poke damage at this moment. So really crucial is why I summon this monster right here and decide to poke at them so that I can take down their life points a little bit, but once again playing around the forbidden cyber style technique so they could potentially use it. So right here then we afterwards will swing in with Plasma Vice, forcing them to use a Sphere Karibo right here, which they have to, otherwise it's the end for them. But their life points is only down to 1,800 and they can't use a skill basically. So that's why you gotta be really careful when playing against the Cyber Dragon decks. You want to play around their life points and sort of like juggle it a little bit. So right here now they set one. We know they're basically defensive only. They have nothing else really left. You know, I'll be surprised if they got another Sphere Karibo, but we're just gonna summon a Sparkman, swing into their Decoy right here, and try to swing into game with Plasma Vice, and we do end up getting it because they have nothing to respond back to us. And that will be wrapping up for game 3, scoring us 2-1 for this match series right here, displaying and showcasing the Elemental Hero deck versus the Cyber Dragons. That will conclude my very own deck building strategy and in-depth guide for the Elemental Heroes deck for Speed Duels. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. We got lots more deck profiles coming up real soon for Speed Duel, so be sure to hit that subscribe button right now and turn on that notification bell once again to stay tuned. And one last time, if you guys haven't checked out the YUGITUBER King of Speed Duel GX Duel Academy tournament, then definitely watch that right now. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video, and this is AVAULT signing